love that song. Kind of want to hear more of it, maybe afterwards. All right, so one last survey with those LEDs. Show me red if you've heard the word AI over 100 times today. Excellent, excellent. All right. We're going to see if we can get to 200. So one of the things that I'd like to share with you before we go into PowerPoint is that I'm also a digital anthropologist and a futurist. And I have studied human behavior and our relationship with technology in every revolution, in every evolution, to reverse engineer how brands can create better services, better experiences, and better products. And by better, I mean more believable, relatable, and personal, even if it's B2B. The most interesting thing, if you think about the last 15 years alone, even after Web 1.0, social media, mobile devices, generative AI, these are significant revolutions, and behavior has changed substantially. So speaking of behavior, I'm going to go back in time a little bit, and I'm going to share with you some slides. In the last 20 or so minutes of our afternoon, I would like to explore all of the amazing things that you've heard, all of the amazing things that you've learned this week, to take back to your offices to then build a better brand with AI and all of the tools now at your disposal. This slide was created using Canva's AI, which I found quite nice. So the question is, how do we put into practice everything that we learned here to create a brand that stands out? When I meet with CEOs, when I meet with boards of directors, when I meet with CMOs and executives, I often hear a very inward conversation. I often observe metrics that are very focused on the business. But rarely do I hear insights related to the customer as a human being and as a person. In fact, so much so, I'm guilty of this as well, I've seen a lot of synthetic data used to create personas to drive marketing. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we cannot lose sight, no matter how powerful these tools are, of the people on the other side of those screens. Or for those who also have physical customer experiences, no one wakes up in the morning and asks themselves, should I be an analog or a digital customer today? It's all one. It's interwoven. And I like to remind myself that I am not my customer. And if I hope to inspire them, empower them, engage them, then I have to know who they are. And so as advanced as things are getting, as quickly as they are evolving, I'd like to share with you some of my experiences when we get back to first principles or get back to basics, to create a brand, no matter what industry you're in, that people love. And that's a pretty powerful word because it means that an emotion is involved. Not a click, not a conversion, not a transaction, not a time frame or duration. It is an emotion. One of the books I wrote was called X, The Experience When Business Meets Design. And as I was writing that book, I wanted to cite, with a footnote, a definition of the word experience. Not customer experience, not CX, just the word experience. And after way too much time researching, this was before ChatGPT, I could not find a definition that I emphatically wanted to footnote. So instead, I just looked inward to ask, what is an experience? And when I really thought about it, after a couple glasses of wine, I realized that what an experience is actually something very personal. It's how you see and feel in any given moment. And that is a very simple definition, but for example, if you call customer service for your mobile phone provider and you get an IVR system that asks you to say what you're looking for, you're going to feel a certain way, and it's probably not going to be excitement. You're going to feel the anxiety of having to deal with a system that wasn't designed to deliver a meaningful experience. And the reason why we start here is because you are designing experiences whether you know it or not, because people will have them whether you design them or not. And there are only two experiences you and I and other people will feel. Experiences that suck and experiences that are amazing. Anything in the middle is forgettable. And yet, as companies, we design for transactions, and those are all forgettable when in fact they are moments to ignite an experience. And when it triggers an emotional reaction, it is unforgettable. It is in demand and it is coveted. So if that is experience, then what is brand? How can we make an amazing brand if we're not delivering an incredible experience? You think about the best brands in the world, and the one thing that they all share is that they create experiences around their brand. I happen to know this because I've worked with them, and we have designed at a very emotional level what we want people to feel as they go through their customer journey, before, during, and after a sale. That means we have to know who they are. We have to study the data. We have to be able to analyze the behavior, and we have to make strategic decisions and often bold decisions with that data. More importantly, we have to take that data and share it with the rest of the organization, because no one unit is responsible for the customer's experience. And that's where we get to CX. As I was building on that original definition for experience, I realized that every definition for CX in the industry is very industry focused. It's very inward, it's very technical, and it is not very human. Yet, the definition of it is the sum of all engagements a customer has with you during their journey. It's not one moment, it's all the moments. And what I realized is we weren't very good at understanding who people were. We were very good at trying to manipulate what people do. There's nothing wrong with that, but it all comes down to purpose and intention. And that's when I realized that CX was missing something, an apostrophe S. So that it wasn't customer experience, it was the customer's experience. And the minute you put that apostrophe S into the equation, it forces you to shift perspective from your point of view to their point of view, because they have one, and we should know what it is. And now, in a world where everything is blurred, the role of user experience is very similar to that of customer experience. Physical, digital, shopping, buying, being serviced, using, they're all connected now. So the same thing is true for user experience. It is their experience. So oftentimes we'll hear, well, the one way to build an amazing brand is to be customer obsessed. So what does that mean? Well, the individual who has championed customer obsession is Jeff Bezos from Amazon. But he has famously said that customers are divinely discontent, which is a very nice and polite way of saying that they're never satisfied, even when they're happy, and that they always want more. It was this philosophy that led to Amazon Prime, for example. He noticed that yesterday's wow is today's ordinary. And the Amazon mantra is live for day one, which means be obsessed with your customer, know who they are, know how to give them what they want, and more importantly, know how to give them what they didn't know they want, but once they see it, it is the new standard. Because in his definition, if you go to day two, that means we're already falling behind. And I'll give you an example. I did work back in the day with an app that lets you book cars instead of taxis. I won't say the name. But we studied, this is a while back, but I just want to give you an idea of how advanced user studies can go. We studied what we called the invisible competitor, and the invisible competitor was impatience. And we studied it here in New York. We studied how long was too long to wait for said app until you open a competitive app to see which could get you a car faster. And back in the day, that number started at 10 minutes, then it completely declined to a matter of minutes. Why? Because we as people who use technology have been cultivated to become what I've called accidental narcissists, which means that we want things as fast as they can be based on the world that we know it. And it was also based on research that showed that we were becoming more and more impatient. To give you another idea, back before the days of COVID, I was piloting buy online, pick up in store, and curbside pickup scenarios for very innovative retailers, because I was very early on in the day. And the first time that a customer would experience it, say they pull into their own parking space or they pulled up to the curb, it was a magical experience. This is an example of being divinely discontent or an accidental narcissist. But the second time and the third time they used it, they were not happy. So we had to ask why. And we would learn all kinds of very interesting things, like 2 minutes. That's the amount of time somebody wanted to park, get their stuff, and be gone. You know how incredibly difficult that is to hit as a number, but that's their expectation. Or if we made them come into the store, they wanted their own line. Why? Because they did not want to wait with analog customers, because their time was more precious. Last but not least, a drone company that's doing delivery for Walmart in pilots in Dallas and Virginia right now. Show of hands, has anybody had anything delivered by a drone? Not yet? All right. Well, you can order anything. I mean, like a bag of sugar, toothpaste. And in these pilot areas, a drone will deliver it to you in 30 minutes or less, like a pizza. And the most interesting thing that they had observed is the first couple of times, 30 minutes, it's amazing. 35 minutes? What's going on? User experience is so powerful. If you notice on your apps today, whether it's DoorDash, whether it's Uber, you will see that car coming to you. And the reason why that happens is because, let's take DoorDash. Early on, when you would order a meal and it was past the time that it was supposed to be delivered, most customers would fire up that app and complain. Discount, free meal, whatever it was. The minute they put that car into the app and you could see it was on its way to you, it sort of eased some of that digital narcissism, and more people over time just accepted it. So these are ways to take insights and deliver better services. But what is very important, no matter how often we hear about AI, it is artificial intelligence. It is not humanity. It is not empathy. It is not compassion. It is not creativity, and therefore it cannot build intuition. It cannot build understanding, and it cannot build empathy. And more importantly, it cannot be your storyteller. Only you can go to the people around your organization, to your stakeholders, to be able to tell their story in order to drive the insights and the pilots and the changes and the campaigns and the initiatives that are going to move the needle. And as hard as this sounds, the best ideas do not always come from looking backwards. They're inspired by those insights to imagine future opportunities. It's not just meeting their expectations, it's exceeding them, and it's delivering magic that they did not know to expect. And AI accelerates those insights. AI can help you accelerate everything that proves those insights right. That's what this is about. You are the hero to the customer. And so now that you know what an experience is, and now that you know that it is an emotion, that it is a feeling, that it touches the senses, when we do any kind of customer journey work, when we do any kind of analysis, we have to understand what is someone feeling, not just doing in those moments. And are they forgettable or are they meaningful? And yes, it takes more time. And yes, it takes more resources. But the results are exponential. Otherwise, you're just like everyone else. Because at the end of the day, we all want to feel something meaningful, especially in these times where I'm afraid to even open TikTok or Instagram because I don't want to see the news. But when I see something that is like a lighthouse, something that is relatable and believable and meaningful, it captures my attention. And that counts for everything. So we all have heard the golden rule in life. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. But I think the rule of these times is to treat people the way that they want to be treated. And technology now allows us to scale those insights and to scale personalization in ways now that we understand. So for example, this is a parking sign in New York City. You all have an emotional reaction to this. I mean, if you think about it, it's not unlike a lot of the initiatives that we deploy today. It's someone wanted to communicate our journey to a user, and these are the things that you need to know. But not once did they get in a car, drive to this location, pull up to this curb, and try to read it and understand it. I guarantee that didn't happen. And if you could imagine the scenario that this is happening in New York, where you have bicyclists, tourists, and just New York drivers honking and screaming at you, there's no way you're going to read that in any kind of emotion that isn't distress or anxiety. This is real too. This is California. Someone thought that that was a good idea. This is New York's new parking sign. And they made it a design exercise versus an empathy exercise. They didn't use insights, they just used design. It's better. But if we had insights about how our customer likes to engage with apps or through a journey, what they prefer, not just comparing yourself to your competition, that's the worst thing you can do. Compare yourself to the best-in-class experiences that they use. For example, when I used to work with Virgin America, if you remember that airline, we compared ourselves to Disney and to Apple and those experiences so that we could reverse engineer entirely new things, like even reimagining the boarding pass. And that's what this is about. You can meet their expectations, you can do yesterday better today and tomorrow, or you can reinvent tomorrow. Because if it was a display, even an e-ink display that just dynamically changed with the days and the times and just let you know, is it green or is it red? Phew, I don't even have to think about it. That's what this is about. And it's about combining technology and putting it into service of people. So if you've read Gary Chapman's The 5 Love Languages, he's going to love that I've added a 6th love language: digital empathy. It's the warmth in the moment, in the journey, and it brings it to life in ways that are memorable and meaningful. We need not just more AI, but digital warmth. It is not the transactional. It is not the AI connected to a knowledge base. It is something that delivers a smile. It's something that delivers a memory. And so brands that win are the ones delivering those actual experiences, that actual value, those moments that matter. And I call those ignite moments because you're igniting, you're sparking a memory, and that's intentional. And only insights can give you that intention and that sense of purpose. And so you think about not just the funnel or not just your place in the journey. You think about now how you are the champion for bringing people together in the name of the customer, in the name of who they are and what they value. Because there are a ton of moments that we are overlooking. And I promise you, the minute you put measures to them, to measure, are you bringing that experience to life? Have you articulated what that experience even is? And how are people feeling along the way? And is it driving the outcomes that are necessary? The answer is you find opportunities for business transformation. Now, I'm over time, and I'm going to wrap up here in the next couple of minutes, but I want to share with you a couple of stories. IKEA, they launched a chatbot for customer service. Their intention was to deflect as many first-round inbounds as possible. They ended up deflecting 47% of inbound customer service inquiries. That's a pretty staggering number. And if you think about today's headlines, some executives might say, well, that's 47% of our staff in contact support that we can get rid of. Instead, they looked at what the other 53% were doing. What couldn't it solve? And it turned out that they were customers seeking experiences around interior design. Customers who didn't want to go into the store and talk to someone. Because in addition to accidental narcissists, we are also becoming digital introverts. That's another conversation. And they realized that they could reskill those agents to become interior designers. And they piloted a new service. And that new service delivered 1 billion euro in its first year. Cost savings plus growth based on customer insights. This is Airbnb. There was a time where Airbnb was about to implode. And this was a time where they created a new brand, a new logo. They became an experience company. But the thing that they had to do was convince the board and the company itself to become this new entity. And what they did was they poured over the data, they poured over the insights. And I think what becomes very important isn't just to get those insights, but to ask the questions that bring it to life differently. Because data can tell a lot of different stories. But what they wanted to know was human. They wanted to know, why does someone rent someone else's house when they can go to a hotel that gives you all kinds of services and amenities? Or why would someone want to rent out their house to a stranger? And then they went to the data, and they found all of these incredible stories. And they turned that data and those insights into these stories that were really meaningful. And they brought in a storyboard artist from Disney Pixar. His name is Nick Sung. He actually lives here in New York. And he drew these storyboards that told the story of the host and the guest. So those insights became these incredible stories that transformed Airbnb into an experience company once all the stakeholders followed along with those stories. It was a really meaningful moment.
He did it again with Nike. As you know, Nike has gone through a pretty big metamorphosis as well, and those storyboards are in my last book called Mindshift, where he tells the story of how Nike forgot about why they were Nike, about why they were the cheerleaders for those people who got up at 5 a.m. to run or to learn or practice to run the marathon. They were the cheerleaders that were with them along the way, and they forgot about that. And that data was translated in these stories that got people to feel the customer. And that's what this is about. It's embracing empathy to design for ignite moments, to be thoughtful, to be the light, to convey empathy, to deliver on your experiential and your relational promise. And if you don't have one, then let's get to work. To exceed expectations, to deliver wow, to design native experiences like the parking sign, to add magic, to build trust, and to keep doing that over and over again. These are just some of the ways that companies are figuring this out, but the storytelling component is the thing that brings it to life. I'll ask the team if you want a copy of this deck to send it to you, because I put a bunch of questions that we're starting to ask differently that a lot of companies are not asking right now, to get to those insights that unlock that empathy, that digital warmth. And we're measuring at how well we're not just converting or transacting or serving, but how well we're bringing to life the experience that we promise. It's ROX, return on experience. And I'll tell you this, experience drives greater profitability, at least 25% greater. And the reason why is because the customer will say that they can trust that they're going to get a great experience from you. So in the words of Maya Angelou, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So this moment, please remember that to the customer, right now, you are the most important people in this room. Thank you.